Hey you guys, I am going to give you a little update today that I really intended to give you at the beginning of the week in regards to this new unit, this new little mini unit that we're in right now. But I ran out of time, unfortunately, with just an obscene amount of grading over the weekend that I did not think was going to take me as long as it did. So I didn't get a chance to make the video over the weekend to release on Monday for you. And then I ran into the testing issue, which consumed quite a bit of my time on Monday and Tuesday. So I just didn't get around to it. And I was kind of on the verge of just letting it go at that point, thinking that we were well enough into this week's work that maybe it didn't matter anymore. However, I got an email from a student kind of wondering about what all of the stuff is that we're doing this week, what it's all about, what you're supposed to be learning from it. So I really felt that it was important to clarify, especially after the conversation that I had with this student, because for them it was kind of an eye-opener and called to attention a lot of things that basically we want to reveal to ourselves through this unit that the student had completely missed and kind of lived out in their own way and realized, oh my gosh, this is what we're supposed to be learning and I just completely missed it. So I'm going to go ahead and just read you the email that I wrote to them rather than trying to re-explain it, because I think the way that I explained it to the student made a lot of sense. So here's what it's all about. Here's what you're kind of working on in these next couple weeks and what you're focused on, and what Ms. Tyner and I both really want our honors to English students to glean and get from the material that we're sharing with you this week and next week, okay? So I said, to put it as simply as possible, this week and next week are all about developing our skills and abilities to identify fake news. Most of this week is centering on recognizing that a natural part of being human is developing opinions, beliefs, values, etc. And that with that comes bias. Bias in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have a belief and allow it to guide your decisions. We have those beliefs for survival's sake, right? We have to kind of make sense of the world that we live in a way that rings true to us in order to get through life. So it makes sense that we would have biases. Okay, that by itself is not a bad thing. But the thing that all of these materials are trying to get to is that sometimes, and many times, in fact, that bias can be really debilitating. It can cause us to close ourselves off to shifting, adjusting, altering, growing our perspectives and beliefs, even when we are presented with compelling, justified, verified facts. The point is to say that you do not have to change your beliefs or values, but that to be the best you that you can be, that we all can be, we should be able to recognize the biases that we have individually and keep them at the forefront of our minds when assessing the information we're presented with. That way, we can become wiser consumers of information, recognizing that we may not always be right and that it's okay to entertain ideas that may have initially countered the beliefs that we hold. At the same time, it's also understanding that all humans are in this position, so that it's imperative that we look at all viewpoints on issues rather than just seeking out the ones that match ours. At your age, the age that you're at right now, the amazing and also the potentially detrimental thing is that you're young enough that your mind is still highly impressionable and you're still establishing your beliefs and values. Okay, and that's all of you. I know that at this age, you might feel like you really have a firm understanding of what you value and believe, but the younger you are, the more those beliefs can still change and be molded and influenced for good or for bad. The older you get, the more those beliefs become super strong and really take root. And it becomes much harder the older that people get to recognize and acknowledge the fact that they have those biases. I see it all the time now that I'm over 30. And I've had a lot of life experiences, been exposed to a lot of things in the past 30 plus years. Now I can see those biases cropping up in other people and even in myself. And it's super frustrating for me. Okay, while I still have my own opinions and beliefs just like everyone else, I am also highly aware that they exist, and so I do my best to acknowledge them when I'm consuming information that may or may not agree with my beliefs. But because I'm able to do that, I sometimes find that information that may seem to contradict what I believe actually has validity to it. And not that that necessarily changes what I believe, but it develops the depth of knowledge that I have and or allows me to understand the opposing viewpoint with humility and grace. It doesn't mean that I end up agreeing with other perspective. Okay? In most cases, it doesn't. But it helps me see how that perspective could make sense to those who hold it. Okay? I am in no way perfect at this. There are still many times when I catch myself feeding into the things that support my beliefs. But the most important thing and what we're doing through this unit, through this week and next week, is really developing an awareness that those biases exist. They can be really, really sneaky and go unseen and unacknowledged, and they can be super damaging. So we're trying to call them to the surface so that we just recognize that they're there, so that we can actively and constantly call them out when we're looking at the information we receive. Doing so promotes unity and compassion among all people, while refusing to do so creates more tension and more division. Okay? The goal this week and next week and beyond, really, is not to push a particular agenda or call your beliefs into question. It's all about becoming smarter, informed, sensitive, aware consumers of the massive amounts of information that we encounter on a daily basis. Okay, so that's what the goal is. That's what I want you to become aware of as you are looking at these materials. This week is more focusing on the fact that those biases exist. Whether we want to admit it or not, we all have them. Next week will be kind of putting that belief into practice as we look at some different news stories and try to put that lens in focus and say, okay, how do I responsibly consume this information, knowing that my biases exist, knowing that the person who wrote this has biases? How do I get through all of that to find and discover the truth? Okay, we felt like this is a really relevant topic, especially right now. So I'm hoping, and I think that this is going to be kind of a fun couple of weeks. Hopefully you've had some fun with the material that we had this week. I thought it was super entertaining and interesting, and I was excited for you guys to take a look at it. And hopefully this just kind of clarifies any questions that you might have about what the heck is going on and what we're studying right now, okay? If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to discuss this more with you, but that is the unit that we're in right now. We're looking at fake news and how do we call it out, all right?